It's the ultimate guide to anything Filipino in Las Vegas. This is the Las Vegas Filipino Resource Guide radio show on PHLV Radio.
Las Vegas Filipino Resource Guide radio show here on PHLV Radio. I'm your host, Gilbert Glorioso, and I'll go ahead and introduce my co-host and business partner, Miss Lonnie Andal. Good afternoon.
Hello for a Saturday.
Hello for a Saturday. How are you doing? How are you doing, Miss Lonnie?
I just rolled out of bed. I always look like this.
Yeah, and I did the same too. Actually, I'm here at Boulder Beach right now, so.
Oh, nice.
I had to do the screen in the background anyways. Yeah, so yes, we have some special guests here today on our show, Las Vegas Filipino. I'll go ahead and have you introduce our guest. As you know, as it is. Hang on quick.
Well, I believe our guest is just in time for the season. This is the perfect guest for the season, and that is Mr. Jackson Hewitt, who literally is going to inform us right now, when everybody's running to do their taxes, what they can and cannot do, what they should put down, what they shouldn't put down, how to get the best out of our dollar, which is everyone is wondering how are they going to get through this year with the taxes. And it was just announced that tax returns are going to be a couple of months late. I know, to everybody's disappointment, but this gentleman has created so many tax forms, and I'm just looking at his bio. It seems that we're both born in 1949, John, so we've seen a lot.
You were born in 1949?
Yes, I am. May.
Wow.
Yeah.
You look like you were born in 1969.
That's me, John. That's me.
Okay.
And of course, we have also Vladimir. How you doing, Vladimir?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm doing great. Thank you, Gilbert.
Thank you so much.
So I think focusing on our taxes this season, I know I just sent mine into my tax person that I've had for 25 years. And what's so great is that I just scan everything to him because of the COVID. And actually, it's a great way to do it. I don't have to travel 10 miles to him to do my taxes. But let's hear some expert advice of what is going to take place this year. Is it going to be different than any other year that we've had in the tax situation?
You know, Lonnie, there's three certainties in life: death, taxes, and change. And this is my 53rd tax season, and it's changed every year. And so as a consumer, as a taxpayer, you have to be careful that you don't miss something you're entitled to. Because most errors on tax returns are errors not of commission that they commit an error, or it's hard to make an error of commission anymore with the computer because it adds and subtracts and divides and but it's easy to make an error where you omit an opportunity for a deduction.
Well, do you believe this year there's going to be different deductions that we are not aware of, that maybe they're withholding that information? Maybe people are not as educated. Let's face it, not every American citizen is a tax preparer, and they rely on their tax preparer to give them the most up-to-date information and to get the most deductions of what we're supposed to have. So I want you to elaborate on that, because you're the guru, you're the person to go to.
Exactly, and there are so many things that people are entitled to take, they just don't know. So people like yourself that send in information are in danger of missing things. For example, if you owned rental property and you didn't know that the mileage that you drove back and forth to the property was deductible to collect rent or make repairs or just examine the property. If you didn't know that was deductible, you might not send it to your preparer and they would miss that. You can take contributions that even if you don't itemize your tax returns, you can take contributions on your tax return. And the that if you don't know it, and if you haven't been doing it last year or the year before, then you're unlikely to send that information. And unfortunately, if they don't quiz you, then you're not going to be informed. It's obvious that with charitable donations, that you can take the cash that you give, but it's possible if you are an officer in a charity, or like a Sunday school teacher, a head of the finance board of a church, you can deduct your mileage back and forth to the charitable organization. So there's just many opportunities that you can take that you may not be aware of. And also, I think tax preparers, one of the things you need to look for in a tax preparer is someone that gives advice, not just takes what you have and regurgitates it in a tax return, but a very important thing that tax preparers need to do is give you advice. For example, again, I use the charity. Let's say you're going to give $5,000 a year to a charity, and at the same time, you have stock that's appreciated. The stock market is at close to an all-time high. There's trillions of dollars that have been made, and let's say that you had a gain in a stock of $5,000. If you gave the stock to charity, you would get this equivalent deduction, but you would save the capital gains from selling the stock yourself. So you'd have in Nevada, where there's no state tax, you'd save 20% of that $5,000 by giving stock versus cash. So you need that kind of advice to get the most favorable tax treatment each and every year.
So for the average person, and that's most of the United States, the average person doesn't have as many deductions as someone who has net worth, real estate, like you said, stocks. So how does the average Joe get the most out of their deductions, and what are they entitled to deduct?
Yeah, there's things like the child care credit, the child credit for having children, and again, paying to a charity, things like that are available to everyone. And a high percentage of taxpayers in the United States take advantage of those types of deductions. Excuse me.
So someone who has a small business, and most of our Filipinos here in Las Vegas are in some type of franchise business, independent entrepreneurs. What advice would you give to them? Is this a good time to possibly start your own business so you have the proper deductions?
Right. When people ask me for advice on how to save money on taxes, my generic advice is contribute as much as you can to your retirement plan that's tax deductible. And then secondly is to start a business. It's one of the greatest tax shelters that are available to the average person. So yes, owning a business is very helpful in lowering your taxes.
Now, some years ago, I had heard this, I would say maybe like 10, 15 years ago, to the individual, if they should incorporate themselves to get a better tax break on what they can deduct. Is that like an old wives' tale, or is that something that's actually valid?
That's an old wives' tale, unless they have a legitimate business with a legitimate purpose, then that doesn't benefit you in any way.
So like you said, and I know with my tax person, I would advise people who say, oh, I do my own taxes, or I go to H&R Block or XYZ. It's not really advisable. If you have the same person every year, they know what your deductions are. They, like you said, advising you, did you do this? Did you contribute to this? Did you do any professional road trips for the business? Those are things that someone who is your friend in tax can remind you what you need to do. If you keep on changing it every year, they're just looking at the numbers. They're not really questioning you of what else you could have as a deduction. They're just going along the script.
Yeah, and you have to be careful of that. You have to be careful of two things with your tax preparer. That your tax preparer needs to dig for deductions, needs to ask questions to ensure that you're taking everything you're entitled to. One thing's for sure: the IRS, if you miss something that could save you money, the IRS isn't going to call you up and say, "Oh, by the way, did you have this deduction?" You can make sure of that. In 53 years of doing this, that's never happened. So if you miss it, you're just out of luck. So, and tax preparers can get complacent and think that everything's the same. And you might have been divorced, you might have been married, you might have had a child, you might have had something could have happened in your life that is that can save you money on taxes. And if your preparer isn't asking you questions, then they could easily miss that. And again, an important part of paying lower taxes in your lifetime is planning ahead and giving advice for what you can do in the future. For example, today, if you qualify for an IRA, then this is very unusual. You can put money into your IRA before April 15th and count it towards last year. For 2021, you can count it on your tax return. That's all. That's one in a zillion things you can do that can help your. It's too late for anything else for 2021, but you can put money into a retirement account. And if you already have a retirement account, small business, you can put money into that. That's even a higher amount is available as a deduction for small businesses. So yeah, you need to make sure you take advantage of every opportunity and you plan ahead. One of the things that common mistakes people make is they make a life decision without consulting a tax expert. So they buy a house, they have a capital gain, they get married, they get divorced. All of those situations you should run by your taxpayer just to make sure you're taking the utmost advantage of the opportunity.
Vladimir?
I have to.
There you are.
Yeah. Thank you.
In your career, tax career, how do you find our businesses? Are they, how would you say, knowledgeable and getting the best out of running their business and tax deductions that they should have? Or do you run to us, it's education of what you are entitled to and what you
Right.
can deduct. So what do you find is like a roadblock in some of the cases you deal with?
Well, I encounter a lot of small businesses owner, and most of them are already knowledgeable about their deductions and expenses, and I kind of do the fact findings and what need to be included on the expenses. And some of them they already have that listed in the papers. Maybe the new business owner they don't know anything about it, so I have to educate them. I have to tell them what they need to bring, what expenses to write down, and because there's so many small business that they're under S corporation, or they can be a C corporation or partnership, or they can be just a sole proprietor. They have different kind of categories, so I have to let them know what the differences are. So they hear it and they understand the situation of their business and say, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that we can do that." And said, "Oh, yes, that's advantage to you and in your company in a tax shelter also." So yeah, we educate them not only just preparing taxes all the time, but we share the knowledge that we learn from our ATAX operation.
Because I think what the advice would be anyone who is going to start a business need to learn that, need, like you just said, to educate them of what they can and cannot do, because they may be under a misconception of what they can deduct and what what their business is a
Right.
possible way for them to gain good tax dollars and what they can deduct as tax dollars.
Mm.
So, what would you think of people who have investment in real estate, that they're living in the house, as John had said, and they have a rental property? Are they, what is their situation like for them to have their tax deductions?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like John Hewitt mentioned earlier, they can write off their mileage, like going back and forth, doing some repairs to their houses and improvements, whatever their improvements doing in their house, like fixing their kitchens or fixing all the plumbing. So all
Hmm.
that stuff write down, and maybe some of them are not aware that they can do it, but
Right, right.
if it tells me that there's a rental property, then we advise them that, or we tell them that, hey, what expenses did you make to that rental property? Did you
Hmm.
fix
Hmm.
that house? Did you fix the front yard or garage, something like that? And those are things that we need to remind them that you can make a deduction about it, make some expenses.
So, are you guys really busy between now and April 15th?
Yes,
Does
actually,
your
we're
tax
getting a
season
lot of.
start?
Yes, that's it's blessings. I know we're new in this business, in this we're franchise here in Las Vegas actually, and then in Nevada, and so blessed and um, I'm so glad that I opened this business. I think the right time during
Hmm.
pandemic.
Hmm.
We're getting a lot of referrals from friends and from previous years, and I have a lot of referrals from my clients. So we have appointments coming in over the, and we're
How?
open 6 days, Monday to Saturday.
You open 7 if you could, but you too need a day of rest. But with the
Right, right.
pandemic, do you find the tax situation, is it different since we've had the virus and everyone working, not working, getting employment, getting assistance? How does that affect you preparing their taxes?
Well, there's a situation that people are afraid to get out last year. They just wanna. They call me, hey, what do I do? Should I come into your office and prepare the taxes? And I always tell them, if you're comfortable coming to the office or going out, just email all your documents and we can do that. I can do that. You can just sign remotely. And some of them are coming in here, just dropping off their paperwork and just call them and it's ready to sign. Um, we don't have any people that's waiting on the office to finish up. It become now it's like a new normal. I know back in the day people would wait in the office and until finish everything, but right now they can drop it off, can finish it up, and maybe in a couple hours we call them, hey, it's ready to sign, it's good to go. So people are get used to that, accustomed that it's a pandemic. They're not really, it's not new thing to them. They're just like new. It's already in the system for them. It's just like normal. It's like normal daily living.
I could attest to that, making adjustments to getting services, your tax service, because like I said, my tax guy and he's serviced me for 25 years, and I would always make my appointment in January for the first week in February. This is 25 years. And he closed his office, but he's operating from
Wow.
home. And he said, I live way, way out. He does. He lives way out in Aliante. And he said, do you still want to come
Wow.
do your taxes? And I'm telling you, a tax preparer is like a doctor. You don't want to keep changing your tax preparer. And I said, no, I will fill up with gas and I will come out to you. And then when the COVID happened, we were all concerned. So he said, well, why don't you fax it to me? So then I faxed it the first year, and then I said, well, why don't I just scan it to you? It's like updating technology, and that's what I do when I get my tax returns from different sources. He sets a folder on his computer. I scan it into him so he has everything. Because I know by February, mid February, he's done with my taxes because he's very busy during the height of March and April. So I don't want to be in that crowded fishnet of his.
Right.
So I
Mhm.
start early. As soon as I get my returns, I don't have to wait till a specific, like some people wait till April. I just send it straight to him, and he has everything. And again, doing it by Zoom, doing it by scan or fax, you still get the work done.
Yes, that's definitely the the advance of technology. Like I have a client from Alaska. Actually, today I just spoke to them, and we did a webinar interview. So yeah, actually, tax now it's very accessible. Like you don't have to drive to the office anymore, or all you have to do is just go webinar or Zoom webinar, phone interview, something like that. So it's easier now. It's easier, right, John?
Yes, it's easier from a mathematical using the computer vantage point. The complexity continues to change every year, so that's the difficulty. But the accuracy is far more accurate today than it ever was.
And it's having confidence in your tax preparer. For those who are listening, you think of it as your once a year physical. You want to go to the same doctor, the same procedure to get the best service because they know you, they know your health. It's the same thing with taxes. If you're going to someone periodically every year, they grow with you. They know what your expenses are. They remind you. I would tell people, don't keep switching around. Find the right person for you and think of it as your doctor visit for the year, and you will get the best results that way.
That's so true. I believe in that. That's the traditional uh, concept of having someone to to tell you, advise you. Yes, you're right. It's like a doctor or like a psychiatrist also. And Gilbert knows about it, and he can attest about it.
Where are you, Gilbert? I see the background. I think you're doing a background, but where are you? Looks like you're wearing a wetsuit to go water diving, water skiing, or something.
It's outdoor.
He's outdoor. Okay. I don't see him as an outdoorsman, but I'll go with that. So, what advice, gentlemen, would you give to the person who's getting ready to get their papers together, who's never gone to a tax preparer? What's their, first step that they should do in gathering their information to go to a tax preparer?
Well, as for me, in our office, we have this flyers. That flyers indicate all the lists that they need to bring as their email or phone number, so we can send it to text, which is easier for them to see. So on that flyer, they'll see all the checklists. And if they don't have that kind of access, we just mention it to them by phone that this is what you bring, W-2s, how you make your early income. If there's a dependent, they need to provide their birth certificate or social security card. All those identification that we need to verify that the actual taxpayer is that person. So and if they have like a mortgage, they have to bring that mortgage 1098 documents. If they have like 401k, they have to bring that 1099R documents. So all that stuff. Most of the taxpayers they knows it, but some maybe 10% that don't know what to bring. We always remind them that this is the form that you need to bring. And yes,
So, what advice would you give to someone who, say, has been collecting unemployment for the year and they think that, oh, I don't have to get tax prepared because I haven't worked, but if they receive some type of assistance or unemployment, how should they approach their taxes?
they have to get those 1099G from the state. And if they don't have any uh, access, they can call whatever the state unemployment is, and they provide that to them, and they can bring it to us. And that unemployment income, so it has to be reported to the IRS.
So when sometimes you hear people like earlier I'd asked, is this was a point valid or was that a wives' tale? People who are over 65, are they void from doing the taxes, or they still have to do their taxes? Because I hear some people say, "Oh, I don't have to do my taxes because I'm over 65," and I was like, "Really? That's the first time I'm hearing that." But I do hear it often when people think after 65 you don't have to do taxes anymore.
It doesn't matter if you're 35, 55, 65, 95. You have to file until you die. And then if you have enough wealth built up, you have to file after you die.
That's right. The widower and widow. I said no way around it, I guess.
If their income, they think that, and this is I'm just doing as an observation with people, that if they haven't changed their financial status, that they don't need to file if they didn't make any gains that year. But you still have some type of income that you have to declare, whether it be your Social Security, your SSI, your pension, your investments. You still have to declare.
You have to report it. Yes, definitely. Even though some retired taxpayer, they're only receiving income is SSA, which is Social Security, to file, and then if they have another income, that goes to their total income, so they have to report all of it.
So is there anything new this year that the taxpayers out there need to be aware of in starting to get their taxes prepared? Is there something new that we're not aware of yet?
The one with the child tax credit, especially that receives income already for the child, they received that since last, I think, 5 months prior. They started around August or July. Then that income that need to be reported to their income, then whatever's happening to their child tax credit, then it will goes to their fund. So they have to report that, even though they don't receive a letter that they received the payment. So they have to indicate that they received that money. So you have to be aware of the tax credit, the child tax credit.
Tax credit. Okay.
The stimulus is, we always ask if they receive their stimulus. If they don't, there's a way we can claim it. We can just claim it, and if they get approved, and it goes to the refund. So, because some people forget, hey, I don't know if I receive my stimulus, so how do I determine if I receive it? Because I don't keep track of my bank account. Well, you can determine by filing it, and if you get approved, then you didn't receive it. So good for you. Then they will pay you. So yeah, it's taxable. So there's a way they can claim it.
I know the work that any tax preparer does, because I'm not fond of numbers. That has to be really a love for doing things with numbers, because that's very intense, that's very time consuming, and that would probably keep me awake at night having the numbers dance in my head. But
Right.
you literally are keeping everybody safe that way and keeping them tax compliant. So what happens now on the flip side? What happens if you don't pay your taxes? Let's let people know that when you don't pay your taxes.
Well,
What
John, do you have a great answer for that? Pay their taxes.
Yeah, the one organization you don't want knocking on your door is the IRS, because they will take your bank account, they will freeze your bank account, they will grab the funds out of your bank account. They're the most powerful, one of, if not the most powerful part of the U.S. government. So but they are willing to negotiate. So you can, and they are willing to often take payments. So you need to negotiate a payment plan, or you could be in trouble of having all your assets frozen.
So what would you advise this year? Is this year any different than it has been in the past couple of years due to COVID? Has COVID changed any structure? If people have been sick due to COVID and have not been able to work, and does that come into play?
Not unless they have high medical expenses that aren't reimbursed, that aren't covered by insurance. If they have significant medical expenses that aren't covered by insurance, then yes, it could come into play. But if otherwise, it has no effect on your tax return.
Earlier, you had said, making contributions is a way to tax defer. Would you suggest that during the year you make little contributions, or wait till the tax time is near to see how much you should do in contributions?
Well, there's two situations. One is for the 15% of the taxpayers that itemize their deductions. It's only about 15%. Then they can take charitable contributions up to 30% of their income. However, if everyone can take a $300 deduction single and $600 a married couple, and that's one of the biggest things missed on last year. Over 40% of taxpayers did not take any charitable contributions because 2 years ago that wasn't allowed. But now you can, or for the last 2 years, you can, because of COVID, they changed the law that you could take up to 300 or 600 if you're married. And virtually everyone contributes to charity in some way. I mean, even if you buy Boy Scout or Girl Scout cookies, right? Or then part of that money is a charitable deduction. I mean, part of it's for the cookie and part of it's for the charity. And so it's hard to imagine that there are that high of a percentage of people that don't contribute to charity. So it could be the most commonly missed thing on certainly in 2021 it was, and it's likely to be in 2022. That again, since you had to itemize and 85% of the people don't itemize 2 years ago to take charitable contributions, people don't send it into their tax preparer. They don't mention it to their tax preparer, and they miss a deduction.
A question, since we're on that now, if you are attending, which Vladimir could attest, we have a lot of organization dinners and installations, and their organizations, and part of their monies go to charities as well. Are our tickets or our raffle tickets or our monies that we donate to those organizations, are those deductible?
If it's a charity, and they have a raffle, then part of that is tax deductible. Because the charity for example, let's make it simple, that you bought a $10 raffle ticket and the charity has a raffle and they give back 50% of the proceeds to the winners. Well, then 50% of the ticket is deductible because that amount is going to the charity.
Because it's always, and Vladimir knows, a lot of our Filipino organizations, we have a dinner, we have a raffle, we have a silent auction. And I was just curious, is any of that deductible? And you've just answered that, because we do have the lottery of 50-50, which is 50% to the winner and 50% to the organization. And I don't think a lot of people realize that when they get that from a $600 win and they're getting 300 and the organization gets 300, that would have been deductible for how many tickets they purchase. So this would be interesting for our community, because every organization event has either some type of silent auction or raffles to raise additional monies. But I don't think anyone has ever taken those as a deduction or contribution when they pay for the dinner, which is also to the organization. And this just answered a question for everyone out there who goes to the Asian events, the Filipino events, and the picnics that we donate money to, we think of it as a ticket event rather than it is a donation for the organization to stay vibrant. So that was the answer. I didn't know, but now you kind of told me.
Well, thank you. And I can assure you at ATAX, at Vladimir's office, you do get that deduction. You may not get it very many other places, but when you see Vladimir, you get that deduction.
Vladimir, that's great.
Yes, come see me. Come see us here.
It's going to make
have ways how to do that legally.
I was going to say, is that like Pinoy Tax? That'd be a good name for a company, Pinoy Tax. Well, Gilbert, you're still out there. Don't you have any questions, Gilbert?
The kababayan discount.
Well,
anyways, yeah. So the first ATAX, this is the first ATAX here in Las Vegas on south part of the valley. Is there any plans of you guys opening up another location here in Las Vegas?
We do. We expect to have 3 or 4 locations next year.
Awesome. Okay, so the existing office right now, the ATAX office here on the south side, what's the address, just so that if people want to go ahead and get their taxes done? How can they? How do you guys?
Hold on. Yes, they can find us here. It's easy to find really the office right by South Point. It's 9620 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Suite E2. We're right in the corner of Silverado Ranch. So it's really to find, very close to I-15 South. Easy to find, right by South Point, across the street.
The diagonal from South Point.
Yes.
No, it's where the gas station is on the corner, and then the
that's Shell, Del Taco. That's our landmark. I have a free advertisement by Del Taco.
That's where the Landero music school used to be. The Landero Music
piano,
School, right in the corner.
Piano,
Exactly where you are. Very easy to get to. For those out there,
very
easy to get to Silverado and Las Vegas Boulevard on the north side of Silverado.
And we're open 9 to 5, and Saturday we're open the same time also 9 to 5. And by appointment or drop off, walk in is welcome. Yes.
And they could pick up that list where you just said there's a flyer telling people what they need to bring when they come for their visit or they're dropping off. It's like a shopping list to do your taxes.
Yes. Yeah, we have the list. We have the list, document list that they need to bring. We also have ATAX Live where they can upload their documents. It's safe.
Oh.
And we can just upload it. ATAX Live. So if they have Android or Apple, they can just download the the ATAX Live, and they can just download all the documents there. And I will read it, and it's like receiving those original documents. Then when it's ready, they can just come in and sign, or they can do it remotely.
I think that's fantastic.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that?
Is there a phone?
You gotta go your taxes
is there a phone number?
Yes.
I haven't got
my phone number here at the office is 702-587-73. That's the office phone number, and my direct number is 702-750-6057.
All right, thank you so much. Once again, Lonnie, you have you got all your W-2s yet? You have to go over here. I'm gonna. I'm still waiting for a couple more.
I have the same tax guy for 25 years, and it's when he retires, he always says sooner or later he's going to retire. I said, if you die, I'm never going to file taxes again, because he reminds me of the things that maybe I didn't turn in. So that's why like I said, your tax person is like your doctor. He knows your health, and this is more like they know your wealth and what you should be. Like, he'll remind me of things, and he's now just working from his home, just not only by the safe. He had retired, and he gave me the option if I wanted to to use someone more locally to me. But now that I could scan things to him, I said, I just, he dies, I die, because I don't know if I could deal with anybody doing my taxes. He knows the way I present it to him. I used to bring my shoebox. Remember shoebox taxes? Where you have
You have all
everything,
the list in there.
had everything put together according to the categories. So he's trained me in doing my paperwork correctly, and then within about 40 minutes he gets everything down because I group things. I advise people, when you're going to do your taxes, don't bring everything as a bag of stuff. If you categorize it and you will isolate each area, and I even total the amount on each one, I put my little slip on top, it goes like that. And it makes it much easier for the tax person to not sort your things. Sort your receipts ahead of time. Sort your explanations ahead of time, because then he is more efficient in servicing you rather than searching for that little receipt that you didn't label, and then he has to call you and go, okay, this is 875, but it doesn't say what it's for. Where do you want me to apply it? It's not his responsibility to do that. Be a responsible tax person in sorting your bills so you get the proper deductions from stationery, stamp, gas, doctor bills. All those categories will assist you and assist him in getting the best results out of your taxes.
All right.
So that's my tax scenario.
Yes. And also advice for the personal taxpayer without business, only just W-2s. All those expenses really don't apply to your deduction because we have the itemized deduction, the standard deductions. Only medical probably that count on expenses. And if you have business, small business, online business, any expenses use like mileage is the best to use for your expenses to make a deductions. So yeah, and gather that information, especially for Uber driver, all the Lyft drivers. They know they receive all those payments, but they have to track down their mileage from A to B because Uber don't track down your from A to B. They only track down from B to C. That's the record they will keep. Then you will receive. So I advise all the drivers to track on your mileage from your destination to pick up because they don't Uber and Lyft, they don't really count your mileage from that particular.
Can you just repeat your phone number one more time? Because I think people out there are going to start calling you as of today just to start getting some tips on what they need to bring next time. Because when you said the phone number, it kind of like tweaked out, so they may have missed a digit. I know I did. So Vladimir, what is the number again?
Yes. The office phone number is 702-589-773. That's our office number. You can call us anytime. Even at night, we have an answering machine. We can,
so John,
check.
What can you
you.
tip off as a future tax situation? What do you see for the life of the taxpayer in the next coming years? Is there anything we should be aware of?
You know, I like to say that we know the laws, we don't make the laws. And if you can tell me who's going to win the Congress in November, then I can better predict the tax situation, because most of the changes in taxes come from Congress. And so we don't know today what is the Congress going to be, both Democrat, both Republican, one of each. So, and how much of each, because we obviously know we have a Democrat president. So if it's a Democrat president, Republican Congress, it's compromise. So the future is unclear. What is clear is that it's going to change, that the laws are going to change.
And they will affect all of us. No one gets away, like you say, from Uncle Sam. He's the relative you don't like, but he's there.
Yep.
Death and
It's
taxes.
so true.
No, I did.
So
once
Gilbert,
again, well,
take
what's
us away, Gilbert.
well, thank you so much again to our guests for today, dito sa show here on Las Vegas Filipino Resource Guide Radio Show. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Miss Lonnie, thank you so much. Once again, this is another episode on Las Vegas Filipino Resource Guide Radio Show on PHLB Radio. Have a nice week, and see you again next week, Thursdays, 6 p.m.
Hold
here
on.
on PHLB. Thank you.
I think John, you have something to say about
Please.
our event.
Go ahead.
John,
No,
we
I
have
just
an
want
event
to say-
coming up. Would you like to announce it?
Say, Vladimir, what would you ask me?
Would you like to say your event coming up on March in Las Vegas?
Yes, events.
I'll be in town on, and we'll be making a presentation about ATAX on the 31st of March.
And where will that be located?
31st of March, okay.
And Caesar's Palace.
Awesome.